The Rangers finally snapped their losing streak with the help of amazing performances by their middle infield, and is Leody Taveras becoming the breakout star for the Texas Rangers in 2023? All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host for all 5 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Today is Thursday, June 15th, and your Rangers are 42-25, alone atop the AL West with a 3.5 game lead. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick, follow the show at Locked On Rangers, and subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Before we get into today's episode, this episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. The championship team is all about each player being a perfect fit, and same with your vehicle. So get the part that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items apply. Items only. Exclusions apply. Now, the Rangers finally snapped their 3-game losing streak, which it felt like more than a 3-game losing streak. The Rangers have lost 5 out of 6. Granted, 2 of those were to the Tampa Bay Rays, the best team in baseball, on the road in Tampa Bay or St. Petersburg, whatever city it's actually in. And one of the hardest places, actually the hardest place to get wins as an opposing team this year. But the Rangers also dropped their first 2 in frustrating fashion to this Angels team, which is very good and is on a hot streak. And by the way, I'm really annoyed they decided to go on this hot streak after dropping 3 out of 4 at home to the Astros, not the Angels or the Astros, the other A team in this division. But still, this is a good Angels team, and the Rangers just had some really unlucky bounces. They were doing mostly the big things right, but just a few mental mistakes here and there. It cost them in the last couple of games, and also, Shohei Ohtani doing Shohei Ohtani things, which he did yet again today. Another 116-mile-an-hour home run, which was the hardest hit opposite field home run by a lefty in the StatCast era, which is just insane. He also did it off the Rangers closer, who's been pretty excellent this season, but not as excellent in non-save situations, which it was a 5-run game because the Rangers were able to pile on some runs late in this one. A close game throughout. Not a great performance from Andrew Heaney in this one. The Rangers have had some struggles in their starting rotation the last time through. I mean, Nathan Eovaldi did really solid in Tampa Bay, but still not his best outing. More walks than he's accustomed to, and Heaney against his former team just did not look like the best version of Andrew Heaney that we've seen several times this season. 3 2/3 innings, thankfully just 1 run, but 4 walks, 5 strikeouts, 5 hits. He also hit a batter and could not make it through 4 innings and the Rangers really needed that. They needed some length from their starters these last couple of days because they went 12 innings on Monday and they haven't had an off day in more than a week, won't have one until next Thursday, and they need some length from their starters. They did not get that from Heaney. He had a stretch where he had 6 out of 7 starts where he went 6 or more innings, starting on April 27th on April 22nd against Oakland. He had a really nice long stretch, which is not something that I expected from Heaney. Heaney is a guy who's not been terribly efficient with his pitch counts and, does have a little bit of a walk problem, more so this year than last year. Also gets a lot of strikeouts, but he needs a lot of pitches to do that, so pitching deep into games isn't necessarily his forte. And so, it's kind of tough to ask him to go 5-6 innings all the time and be that consistent, or at least 5 innings feels like a bare minimum for a guy who's, granted, your number 4, maybe 3 starter, depending on how you feel about him in this rotation, but he was coming into the season as the number 5 starter, and he delivers exactly what you want from a 5 starter in a good rotation. Occasionally have some days where he looks amazing and some days where he has clunkers, but most days he'll get you around 5-ish innings and keep you in the baseball game. He did that with the Rangers today, but I really would have liked to see him be a little bit more aggressive in the zone. Granted, sometimes when he does that, he does get lit up for some home runs, and this Angels team definitely has a lot of home run power in there. But shout out to the bullpen, yet again coming up huge. I mean, the Rangers have used so many relievers and had to pitch so many innings this last week, and they just keep coming up big. Grant Anderson, 2 1/3 scoreless, perfect innings. Josh Spores, 2 innings of shutout baseball, 3 strikeouts for him, just the 1 walk, the only base runner that he allowed. And then Will Smith comes in a non-save situation, gives up a hit and then a home run to Shohei Ohtani, because of course it's Shohei Ohtani. And the home run that he hit to the opposite field, it was a pitch up and in that he took the opposite way. I mean, the thing that he does is he has so much power to the opposite field. On pitches that are inside, he can just turn on them and hit them to the opposite field. Do you know how strong you have to be to hit a ball 116 miles an hour off not even a whole lot of velocity coming off Will Smith? So a lot of that power, almost all of it, is generated by Shohei Ohtani. It's just insane the things he does, and I really hope the Rangers throw all of the money that they possibly can at him. I mean, throw, I don't know, maybe $500 million, like what they spent on this middle infield that came up huge with back-to-back homers when the Rangers really, really needed it in the 7th inning. The second time in their Rangers career that these two have gone back-to-back, and Marcus Semien was in a bit of a rut since that 25-game hitting streak was snapped. I believe he was 0 for 12 on the homestand heading into this game. Comes up with a multi-hit game, including his 10th home run of the season. Seager follows it up with a massive shot, his 9th of the season, gaining on Marcus Semien. And Seager has just been on an unbelievable tear as of late, and he had another great game in this series. I mean, if he doesn't win AL Player of the Week, I'm going to be shocked out of my freaking mind unless he goes over for the rest of the week. I mean, Seager has just been lighting up this Angels team, giving them everything that they could handle, and he has had a couple of defensive miscues, actually just one really big defensive miscue in the Tuesday loss, but still, Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, those two guys at the top of your order, the top in the middle of your infield. This is the best middle infield in all of baseball, and one of the best middle infields that I think the Rangers have ever had. I mean, the only close comparison, I think, is, I don't know, peak A-Rod and Alfonso Soriano was not here during that, and Michael Young. I mean, that's about as close as it gets. I mean, I was having this debate with Mike Palucci on Twitter about Corey Seager. He said that Corey Seager is the best pure hitter that the Rangers have employed since A-Rod, and I said, well, maybe you can just take off that since A-Rod. And I think he might be the best pure hitter the Rangers have ever employed. Now, overall, offensively, I know people have a lot of feelings about A-Rod, the person, which is totally justified, and the way it ended here obviously ruffled a lot of feathers. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But A-Rod, the player, when he was here, he was absolutely a singular force. I mean, an MVP level player 3 years in a row, set franchise records. He was just so incredibly good at baseball, and people were like, oh, well, he wasn't worth the contract. Yeah, A-Rod was worth the contract. He was absolutely worth the contract when he was with the Rangers. And, you know, you can debate about the return on the trade, but he was an outstanding talent. And Corey Seager is looking like he is absolutely worth that contract as well. I mean, more than worth it. He's been one of the best hitters in all of baseball. I talked a lot about his different statistics, why he's so impressive yesterday. I mean, you look at him up and down the baseball savant charts, and he is just right up there with the best of them. I mean, he just is so incredibly good. And one of the things that I was noticing that I didn't mention on yesterday's show is one of the things about Corey Seager's plate discipline and the way that he approaches things is he swings a whole lot early on, and he swings a whole lot early on to get into 0-2 counts. And once he gets behind 0-2, it never feels like he's overmatched. This is his slash line after he goes down 0-2. Has an average of 261, on base of 292, slugging 478. That's a 770 OPS after he goes down 0-2. That's incredible. That is a sign of a great hitter. That and the fact that he barrels up literally every single thing. The fact, like, there's so many different types of pitches. It feels like he never has a soft hit ball. It's just everything is coming off his bat absolutely stung. That is why he has been so incredibly good for the Rangers and so incredibly valuable, and absolutely should be an all-star, and probably is going to work his way in the MVP conversation if he keeps this up and stays healthy for the rest of the season. Coming up, we're going to look at some missed opportunities by the Rangers and Leody Taveras developing into everything the Rangers hoped he would be and more. But first, this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs are the most comfortable pair of pants or shorts you will ever wear. Bird Dogs they make you look good. They are so comfortable. I promise you, once you get yourself a pair, you will not want to take them off. Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts that are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg and give you a truly sculpted look. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit way better. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of this stiff restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fixed the issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches, so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice your movement. Bird Dogs uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long if you want to go for long walks out in the summer heat, or just hang outside, or go catch a Rangers game and you want to wear some shorts that aren't going to make you sweat through your pants. Well, I know that even if the roof is open, you're still going to be feeling nice and comfortable if you're wearing yourself a pair of Bird Dogs. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. Shout out to the everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Friday's show, I'll wrap up the week down on the farm. The Rangers take on the Angels this week. You can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, the Rangers didn't take advantage of all their opportunities last night. There were a couple of instances where it just felt really uncharacteristic and kind of like a coming back down to earth. The Rangers have basically hit like Barry Bonds with runners in scoring position all year. Those numbers aren't going to keep up. I mean, it's as a team, not just individuals, but like as a team, they're basically putting up Bonzian level slash lines with runners in scoring position. This is a good team and a good offense and a very, very deep lineup, but those numbers just aren't going to continue. And sometimes it's going to come back crashing down to earth in the law of averages in frustrating ways by guys that you don't necessarily expect. Now, in the sixth inning, this was the most frustrating instance of them all. And Josh Young comes up with the bases loaded and 1 out, and he strikes out. He expands the zone. He can't get the run home. This was back when it was still a 1-1 game. And you thought, okay, well, this is frustrating, but it's fine. Jonah Heim is coming up as well, so he's been incredible with runners in scoring position, runners with bases loaded, and all kinds of clutch situations like that. And Jonah Heim, he also gets an unproductive out, just an out, I guess, with 2 outs. There's nothing productive about that, but Young expanding the zone and chasing while he's ahead in the count, that was a really frustrating moment, a teaching moment, and I think that's something that it's not typical of him, but still frustrating to see your number 5 and 6 hitters who have been fantastic all season waste a chance like that. And then in the 5th inning, Rangers had runners on second and third with 1 out. Robbie Grossman comes up and he also strikes out. Just having a runner on third with 1 or fewer outs and not getting the run home is really, really frustrating and uncharacteristic of the Rangers. Then Leody Taveras, I believe he grounded out after that, and the Rangers couldn't get any runs off of that in the 5th inning. So just uncharacteristic, coming back down to earth for this offense, but still they find a way to get things done. Leody Taveras tied it up, and in the bottom of the 3rd inning with his home run, his 6th of the season, and he is really breaking out for the Rangers so far this year. He has been absolutely incredible. Everything the Rangers hoped he would be. I mean, people have been putting him on prospect list for so long. The first top 10 that I saw him on MLB Pipeline was 2016. I believe he was 9th at the end of the year on that list. And then in 2017, he was the number 1 overall prospect in the Rangers system. I think he might have been in 2018 as well. But he kind of fell down some of those prospect lists because of prospect fatigue. We've been hearing about him for so freaking long. He is still very young. I believe he is 24 years old, turning 25 in September. He made his big league debut at age 21 in 2020 and had a solid season then, and then kind of really came crashing back down to earth in 2021 and 2022. The first half was amazing, and the second half, he just could not sustain it. And thought, okay, well, I guess this is Leody Taveras. This is the Leody Taveras we're going to get. He's not going to be all that great offensively, but we know what he can do defensively. But this year, the offense that we saw in the first half of 2022, that has proved to be semi-sustainable. Maybe he'll fall off again in the second half this year, but I really don't believe so. The numbers are looking incredible. I mean, his expected batting average is in the 94th percentile right now. He's hitting .305, and his expected batting average is .299. That's in the top 6% of the league. His expected slugging is at .440, which is about a little bit below what his actual slugging is. He has an OPS of .845. He is a 2.1 WAR player, according to Baseball Reference, just ahead of Corey Seager and a little bit behind John Gray for the 4th most valuable Ranger on this squad. He has been doing everything the Rangers expected of him, and he is the best 9-hole hitter in the league. I think it's not even particularly close. And there's some people in my mentions saying, oh, he should be not hitting 9th. I don't think so. I think that him hitting 9th is a great place for him to be. Him being the guy that gets on base a lot and gets on base for Marcus Semien, who is one of the best RBI men in the league and does really well with runners in scoring position in clutch situations. And having Leody Taveras at the bottom of your lineup, if this is a playoff game and the A1 lineup, I think that 8th is exactly where he's supposed to hit. I mean, in the apex form of this lineup, you go Semien, Seager, Lowe, Garcia, Young, Heim, Garver, and then in the 8th spot, Ezekiel Duran. I don't think that Leody is necessarily a bigger offensive force than really anybody else in that lineup. Even though he's been incredibly good, I still trust those guys a little bit more. And again, like I said on yesterday's episode, there is something to consistency in the lineup. There is something important about that, and guys knowing where they're going to be every day, where they're going to hit, what situations they're going to be, who's going to be ahead of them, who's going to be behind them. Like, there's something valuable to that. There is a reason why Bochy has kept a very consistent lineup, even when Corey Seager was out, putting different guys in the 2-hole and not disrupting everybody else by just moving them up a spot. And it worked. The Rangers offense has been incredibly consistent, incredibly good. And Bochy just kind of knows what buttons to push, and Taveras has been the breakout star this year. Player development is not linear. It's not always, Mike Trout. Like, okay, you draft the player, and oh wow, they're amazing at rookie ball. Okay, let's promote them to the next level, and the next level, and the next level, and they just succeed at every single level. Then come up to the big leagues and are instantly amazing. Like that. That's just not how development works for baseball players or for people in general. It takes some ups and downs and some turns, and not everybody follows the exact same path. And sometimes it just takes a little while for guys to get there. I mean, a lot of times people will start to write off players after about 100 games in the big league level and say, okay, well, once you've had about 100 games under your belt, then we kind of know what you are as a player. And he had 33 games in 2020. Leody had 49 games in 2021 and then 99 games last year. So everyone thought, okay, we kind of know about what Leody Taveras is. And this year he's proved, no, you don't know what I am. I am a starting caliber center fielder. I am an above average first division regular, maybe even all-star caliber player. I mean, the guy has an 845 OPS, and he's one of the best defensive center fielders in all baseball. He's one of the fastest players in baseball. He's had one of the biggest arms. He has a lot of really powerful tools, and he's putting together really quality at-bats and getting on base at this 364 clip as one of the fastest players in baseball. That is a extremely valuable player. The thing that I have always said about Leody Taveras, and that has always been said about Leody Taveras, and why he was always so high on prospect boards, is that he's got the loud tools. I didn't really know as much about the arm until he got to the big league level. You could start seeing those cannon throws being uncorked. Okay. But the speed, the defense, the reads, playing premium center field defense is a very, very valuable and often underrated thing. Leonys Martin was a very valuable player with the Rangers, even though he didn't really do very much offensively, because he got such good reads, he had such great speed, and also such a big arm in center field that provided a lot of value. There were a lot of outs that he converted, and a lot of outs that he got with his arm on the base paths, and just as a general deterrent of keeping runners from going the extra base. We've seen, well, it hasn't deterred people as much from riding on Adolis Garcia, but I think on Leody they also have kind of pump the brakes on going the extra base. And so he never had to do that much offensively, Leody Taveras that is, to be a good major leaguer. Not just a fine, okay, but to be a good major leaguer. Right now he's on pace to have about a 5-WAR season. That's exceptional. The Rangers haven't had a 5-WAR center fielder since, I don't know, maybe when Josh Hamilton was a center fielder. Maybe Leonys Martin. I think the most that Leonys Martin had a season was about a 3 or 4 WAR season. I don't think he ever got to 5. But still, this is an incredibly valuable player and a huge development for the Rangers, along with the breakout of Josh Young, who we all knew was going to be pretty darn good, and Ezekiel Duran, who also played first base last night. Nathaniel Lowe had his first night off of the season. It just looked like, oh, it's nothing. Here goes Ezekiel Duran hitting in the 3-hole and playing first base, and there was pretty much, no discernible difference defensively, which is a huge testament to Ezekiel Duran and his versatility and why the Rangers like him so much. But I feel like I focused so much on Josh Young's development this year and the breakout of Ezekiel Duran that I kind of haven't appreciated Leody Taveras also taking that huge next step and doing it right when everyone was trying to push him to a bench role and promote Evan Carter straight from AA. That's not how this works, and I'm glad that I stuck with saying Leody is going to figure it out and be a very productive, or at least a pretty productive center fielder in the major leagues. And so far he has been. The Rangers have several years of control of him under contract, and I am really excited for the future of Leody Taveras because I think this is who he is. Maybe he won't have an 845 OPS at the end of the season, but still, he's going to be a really, really valuable player and a huge part of the reason why the Rangers are having so much success. Come back, we're going to look at Jon Gray, his importance to this rotation, and a couple of roster moves, what they say about the Rangers, why the Rangers might have yet another 40-man roster crunch coming up in just a second. But first, this word from our sponsors. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Monday's show, we'll wrap up this weekend series against the Toronto Blue Jays. The Rangers take on the Blue Jays this weekend. You can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, Jon Gray threw a very light bullpen on Wednesday. Didn't get an update on how that went. It seemed to have gone okay. I vaguely remember Emily Jones on the broadcast saying that it went okay. There was a lot of spectators there. But the Rangers are really needing to have him come into the rotation and make a start, make at least his next start. Cody Bradford has not been sent back down, so it makes me kind of worried that there is going to be an IL stint for this blister issue with Jon Gray. And so far this season, he has been incredibly valuable to the Rangers. The Rangers need him to be healthy, and they definitely need him healthy for the playoffs, but they need him healthy for the regular season too, because with the injury to Jacob deGrom, him not pitching anymore this season, with having no Jake Odorizzi at all, this Rangers rotation needs the top two guys to be the top two guys. And Jon Gray has been exceptional this season. He has a 2.32 ERA in 12 starts, 72 and a two-thirds innings pitched, a whip below 1. His expected ERA is way higher. I think he was getting very lucky early on in the season, but so far the last few starts, basically since the month of May, I think he has deserved to have the one something-ish ERA he's had in the last month and a half. Basically, his expected ERA is at 3.92. His regular ERA is at 2.32. It's kind of the inverse of his career. Every year except for I believe 2, he has had an actual ERA much higher than his expected ERA. So maybe he's getting some good luck going his way, but he definitely deserves it. He has been very effective for the Rangers and been able to pitch deep into games. And the Rangers, like I said, need that length out of their starters, and they need just starters in general. They just need their starters to stay healthy, with Jacob deGrom being out for the season and only getting 30 innings out of him. Jon Gray has become incredibly important as the Rangers' number 2 starter. He's going to be, if he's healthy, he's going to be their game 2 starter in a playoff series if they get to it, which, by the way, I'm pretty darn sure they're going to get to. The Astros just got dealt some bad news. Lance McCullers Jr. had forearm surgery, and he is out for the season. He has not pitched at all for them this year. But the Rangers' chances to win the AL West and make the playoffs are getting better and better. There's a little bit more of a discrepancy in Baseball Reference and Fangraphs' expectations on the Rangers to make the postseason. Right now, Baseball Reference has the Rangers at an 87.8% chance to make the postseason and an 8.7% chance to win the World Series, whereas Fangraphs has the Rangers with a 75.9% chance to make the playoffs, and the Astros all the way down at 67.9% chance to make the playoffs. They are 3.5 games behind the Rangers, and those Astros are 2 games ahead of the Angels. So this is going to be a tough division race, and the Astros aren't going anywhere. They have been dealt a bad hand with injuries. So have the Rangers. The Rangers got 30 innings of Jacob deGrom, and they are still absolutely flying. They had a month and a month plus of no Corey Seager and about a month and a half of no Mitch Garver. So this team hasn't, been exactly super duper lucky with their injuries either, but still, it's keeping things in perspective after a 3-game losing streak, and it is just 3 games, and the Rangers can bounce back. And yet, losing a series to the Rays is not great. And if the Rangers lose this series to the Angels, that'll be the first time the Rangers lose back-to-back series since the second and third series of the year. That was against Kansas City, and then the trip to Chicago for the first road series of the year. But the Rangers do a good job of keeping things in perspective. I feel really confident with Bruce Bochy, setting the tone that these guys aren't going to get too overwhelmed. And I feel myself getting wrapped up in it too. I feel like Rangers Twitter the last few days have just been like, oh my gosh, everything is going wrong. Everything is terrible. The Rangers aren't going to make the playoffs. Everything's coming crashing back down, and readjusting my expectations to what it's like to kind of try and keep a level head and a perspective on a 162 game season when there are expectations, as opposed to just, oh, here's another 3-game series that the Rangers lost. They're just going to suck because that's what they do for the last, 6 years. Readjusting those expectations definitely takes time, and kind of following the lead of Bruce Bochy and never getting too high and too low, and kind of remembering, okay, yeah, this is a long season. Yeah, this is a rough stretch, but just taking a look at those standings every single day, seeing the Rangers do still have that cushion atop the AL West. It's 3.5 games, and I wish it was more. And if the Angels had started their freaking hot streak before they decided to, continue it into beating the Rangers first 2 out of the 3 games in this series, then maybe the Rangers have a little bit more cushion in the AL West over those dreaded Houston Astros. But still, this team is in a good place, and keeping that perspective is important. The Rangers have a very good team this year, and a team that, even the worst teams can beat the best teams. That's what happened a couple of days in a row in Oakland. In case you haven't been paying attention to what's going on there, Tuesday night was one of the best nights I think I've seen in all of baseball. Just a really, really special moment. There was a reverse boycott held by A's fans to kind of show ownership and the league in general, and whatever new ownership group might come in and bring an expansion team to Oakland, because Oakland deserves baseball. Show them, hey, we're not the problem. They packed Oakland Coliseum against the Rays on a Tuesday night. They were on a 6-game winning streak heading into that game against the best team in baseball. They had taken the first game of that series, and then they went and they beat the Rays. They beat them for the first 2 out of the 4 games in that series. They held it close in the 3rd game, but I mean, the A's on a winning streak. They swept the Brewers heading into that series. I mean, it happens to everybody. These bad losses happen to everybody. I mean, we saw how good the Rays were this past weekend, and then they lose 2 out of their first 3 to the A's, and they might lose 3 out of 4 in that series in Oakland. So keeping your head on straight kind of matters. And I just want to shout out to A's fans who are in a rough way right now. I know that the Rangers fans have a love-hate relationship with the A's, especially after that 2012 season where the A's stole the division title from the Rangers on the last day of the season, and the Rangers had to play in that stupid wild card one-off game, and we all know how that went, and that was extremely frustrating. But baseball is better with Oakland having a baseball team, and the frustration that those fans must feel of having an owner who does not spend on his product and is going to fleece another local government into giving him a bunch of money. I mean, Nevada just signed, I think, $300 million in aid to help him build his stadium in Las Vegas. And I don't know what those Vegas politicians are thinking, seeing this scene in Oakland, seeing how he has treated that franchise, how he has neglected to spend any money on them, and thinking, oh, no, we'll be different. He'll be different for us. Like, no, he's not going to be any different from you. It's a bad look for Major League Baseball having owners who don't try, who don't spend money on their team, and just take those big checks of revenue sharing and just pocket that money and buy themselves another yacht and then spend absolutely nothing on their baseball team. I mean, they made $800,000 on this one game. They tried to make a PR stint of saying, oh, hey, all this money that we're getting from these fans who are showing up to show that they're not the problem, we're going to donate that to local charities, which that's a good move, and it's a nice thing. I'm not going to complain about donating money to charity, but kind of them saying, oh, look at all this money that we could make if we just put an ounce of care into this team and updating the stadium, or, actually paying our players, or not just having the lowest payroll in all of baseball year in and year out. It's an embarrassing look for Major League Baseball, and it makes me, and definitely should make Rangers fans, very grateful that they have an owner who gives a crap and who will spend money on his team. Because if you don't, you can have a really bad situation like in Oakland. And it's just a bad look for Major League Baseball. I hope that John Fisher does sell the team. Major League Baseball is better with a team in Oakland. A's fans deserve so much better. And before you crap on the A's with another, empty stadium picture, remember, they're fans that care a lot about that team, and it is not their fault that stadium is not full. It is the fault of John Fisher. And, thank God Rangers have an owner who actually wants to spend money on great baseball players like Marcus Semien and Corey Seager and John Gray and Nate Eovaldi and Jacob deGrom and everybody else they spent so much money on these last few years. Rangers are in a good place. Thankfully, that winning streak is started. Maybe the Rangers can continue it and go on a prolonged winning streak and kind of make us forget the last 6 or 7 days that have been a bit of a rough patch. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. Like I said on tomorrow's show, we're wrapping up the last week in the minor league system with a couple of guys who haven't talked about so far this year that I'm really looking forward to singing their praises. That's going to do it for today's show, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy first place Texas Rangers baseball.